Hello, everybody. This is Elijah Keating from WisdomSeekers.net, and we are here to talk about a journey of a soul, and awakening of the soul. And I'd like to introduce you to Thomas. Say hi, Thomas.
Hello, everyone.
And Thomas he's had a very precipitous awakening. He didn't wake up slowly and gradually. He did it very quickly. And one of these days, I'm going to invite somebody on who had a very slow awakening, just so you can see the difference. And before I go further, this is not an interactive. You can ask questions on topic, but just on topic. All right. So tell me, where are you from, Thomas?
I'm from a small town in the bottom of Ontario called Kingsville. Our claim to fame is it's Canada's southernmost town.
Southernmost. Okay.
Mhm.
I'm trying to find, oh, there it is. Hello. So it really helps when people talk to me so I know whether it's working or not. And you grew up there, you were born there?
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
And what was your life like before you woke?
Oh,
And I
um,
mean spiritual awaken, not being woke.
yeah. Right now, I'm not woke.
God forbid.
I was a county boy. It's a small town. Kingsville was 6,000 people when I was a child, and then the municipality expanded, and everything grows and turns into subdivisions as happens.
Uh-huh.
But not. I'm not a city boy at all. I grew up on a couple of different farms, and through my teens, I joined the military, and that afforded me a little bit of travel around Canada. I didn't do any tours or anything like that, but just reserves for a couple of years, 4 years.
Well, that's kind of exciting, though.
It was, yeah, no, it was no small chapter in my life, that's for sure. Brief, but not small.
Yeah, yeah. No, my brother was in the armed forces. Actually, I before it was the armed forces, and my brother was old, 16 years older than me, and he was deployed to Europe after the Second World War. It was kind of cool, some of the stories he had to tell.
Yeah,
But that's digression.
yeah, no, that's okay. That's one chapter. I could go chronologically. I mean,
Well, just go where you're comfortable.
yeah. My backstory, I can do bullet points. Yeah, subdivision life, growing up with a bunch of neighborhoods, and we went home when the streetlights turned off, kind of deal.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, those are
mhm,
good times.
mhm.
And
And my parents, my parents are both Mennonites, so they were both born in Mexico, and their parents were born in Canada and had traveled from Ukraine in the past. So like, there's a whole migration history there. Um,
really, that's
mhm.
yeah. So I lived in Mexico. And I lived in Nuevo Leon, and it was this. I think it was the state next door that the Mennonites lived in.
Yeah, they're scattered around. Yeah.
Okay, it's scattered because I know there was a group down in next door to Nuevo Leon. That's kind of exciting. They
Mhm.
made great bread. That's all I remember.
Bread and cheese and yeah, lots of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So, so both of your parents are Mennonites,
Hmm.
and so you came from being a Mennonite background. Were you heavily
No.
spiritual or religious?
So like, we always went to church growing up, but my parents were like rebellious Mennonite hippies.
Oh,
Uh, they,
really?
uh, they like, you wouldn't have recognized them as Mennonites. You can usually tell Mennonites when you see them in public. Not
Mhm.
my parents, my general family, like my aunts and uncles. They all kind of left the old colony mode of being behind, and wanted to evolve. So we kept a lot of the principles. Like I said, we went to a newer church with newer ideas, and you could wear your own clothes and stuff, and um, and everything else was like just I guess you could say spiritual, but it was still like a biblical teaching. It was a Christian foundation, right?
Mhm.
And so with the dogma that they grew up with, They were aware that there was dogma in it and wanted to get away from it, but also it's so ingrained that you don't really know where it is a lot of the time. And so
Yeah.
that kind of just turned into a more uh, like anti-worldly mindset, like TV was governed, and we were like the last ones to get new technology kind of thing, because it's like you have to kind of watch what the world is doing and gauge whether or not you want to play along. That's really the
Okay.
main idea.
Uh,
Yeah.
And that's not a horrible idea either.
It's not. No, it's really valuable. A lot of people should govern television to their kids.
Well, my grandkids, their television is governed quite a bit.
Good.
How did your parents deal with the division between male female?
Um, I- it was, well,
That's a
like,
tough question, isn't it?
yeah, I'm not exactly like my mom kept the house and my dad drove truck. And so,
So it was an equal division.
absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, but there wasn't in some areas of religion, there is quite a bit of subjugation.
Yeah.
And what I'm hearing, you don't have that.
No, that was my grandfather, my father's father, was a teacher and a healer of different modalities, and he was always like love first, always teaching love first, and so
Okay, so you've come by this honestly then.
yeah, it's in my blood.
Okay, so I know one thing about you. You are a healer. What kind of modalities did your grandfather teach?
He was reflexology, and he's a nutritionist,
Oh,
and
he's still alive then.
he was. No, he's not now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Nutritionist, that is so you know these things, I guess, because you would have heard them from while you were growing up.
I've grown up around it. Yes.
Yeah,
And the story goes on too. I can say in 1998, my dad died of cancer, and that sent my mom down the same kind of holistic healing path. Like,
Mm,
how do people live healthily? Because the healthcare system looks like natural food. A sick care system looks like a bunch of pills and stuff. Like that's
yeah,
if you're,
yeah.
yeah. So having a foundation of a healthy diet, a healthy lifestyle was, and things that people don't necessarily consider too, like a lot of fermented foods and a lot of probiotic, take the probiotic angle to whatever it is you're eating.
Mhm.
It matters a lot.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, I do a lot of research online because, and fermented foods is one of the big ones that they talk about.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I don't do enough of it, honestly, but
I love it. Whenever I could find some homemade sauerkraut or kimchi or
Mm.
beet boss or
well, I can tell you here in Askews, they have some really great kimchi.
oh
It
yeah.
tastes really good. It's if you go in and you go in on this way, it's at the very far corner, and it is really good.
I'll hunt down some kimchi. The first place I found here was the farmer's pantry, and I went in there, and it's just wall to wall canned goods and preserves and pickled carrots and all kinds of awesome stuff in there.
Okay, so yeah, that would probably be a good place to look too. I
Go down
don't,
and talk to Kathy at the farmer's pantry.
yeah, that's a good idea. I actually don't get out very much. COVID didn't actually change my life a tremendous amount.
That's nice.
It is, it isn't,
Yeah.
but
You didn't get shaken up like so many other people. You didn't need it. You're already shaken up.
that's right. But I get to talk to people like you all the time, so I've never felt that separation, that loneliness, and
Mm.
to me, working through the television, internet, the energy still flows, so I don't miss that. So you became a machinist?
I did. After my military stint, I was going through college and in the military at the same time. And I went to college to I took police foundations. I had an idea to be a police officer.
Mhm.
And I knew towards the end of that I wasn't going to be a police officer. That's okay. I still got the diploma, and I love the psychology and the sociology and the English skills that I got from that, and the friend network that I got, and living away from home for a couple of years. So
Yeah.
college was definitely a positive experience, and I'm glad, definitely glad I didn't take that route to become a police officer. And I'm
Yeah.
also glad that, like, that was the reason I joined the military, was to help pay for college, and it looks good on a resume. And I'm glad that I didn't do any tours with the military as well, because
Mhm.
I know, I've seen people come back changed and
Yeah.
cynical and jaded, and so
Yes, it's not necessarily a wonderful experience. I want to go back for a second. I meant to say this before, but your upbringing, the way you eat and everything, it shows on your face. Your face is very sharp and clear, and your eyes are very, very clear. Spirit Feather says, did either of you have that whoa, energy is real moment, or do you remember what it was like? Okay, we're getting to that, Spirit. um, so how long were you a
a machinist,
machinist?
uh, a decade, a little over a decade,
Okay, so basically your 20s.
basically my 20s.
Okay, so that's the time when people should play and learn and experience, and then we get into real life.
Yes.
That's how I think it, but
No, me too. Whoops.
yeah.
Well, the thing that I was going to say, right after college, I had started the paperwork to go to Afghanistan with the military, and it fell through. It was lost in a pile of bureaucratic nonsense. And so, lucky me, I had a couple of buddies who were going backpacking in Australia instead. So I went right out of college, went to Australia for 5 months, and that was like transformative. That was huge.
So,
And
so what you're telling me is that even though you weren't on this path, you were on this path
yeah,
because
you
the
can't get away
universe was
with it.
looking after you.
That's right. That's right. The reason that the reason I'm here now in this kitchen is because I went to Australia 15 years ago. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because you met a destiny, and destiny's definitely on this path.
Hmm.
You can give her a shout out if you want,
It's
because
up
she
to you.
does the Reiki. She does Reiki and things, right?
He does. Yeah. Yeah. She's got a nice practice here in Canoe.
And people Canoe is it's in BC,
Seminar.
and she does distance Reiki, I believe.
Yes, I've received some. She's really good. Destiny's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's a
So
healer.
so if anybody's interested, we will later on put to her, if she's amenable, we'll put her phone number or her email address in, and you can contact her.
You can find her on Facebook at Healing Through Destiny.
Okay, that works even better. Okay, so that brought you up to the present time, because I remember you saying you sold your house. So you were already well on the end line of becoming Mr. stand-up Canadian,
Yeah, yeah.
and not who you are now.
That path was the logical course of events. Like, you now, this to say, right after I got back from Australia, I opened a business. I had a little internet cafe, video game shop, like a LAN station. You pay by the hour to play video games, and like the local teens and tweens would come by, and it was basically a daycare service after school. Parents loved it, and the kids were all building a community and a friend group and everything. And so that was really fun for me to have that, to build that business. And then yeah, I got into a relationship and got a job instead, and then 10 years went
So it
by.
flashed by in no time.
It just, yeah.
Okay, and then something happened, because I remember you saying something happened and you chose to go for out hunting in the woods.
So, okay. So there was a couple of years of ramp up to this, and it comes in the form of anxiety and just a general dissatisfaction with your life. Something's off. And I'm looking at like the path that I had built for myself, that I realized now I hadn't really built it. I was just being handed what
You were believing society's.
there was a carrot dangling in front of me the whole time. Yeah, yeah. And so I was looking at this decent job that I had, and a decent relationship that I had, and a house that I had bought, and wondering why I wasn't happy, because everything is saying that I should be happy. That's the life that everybody wants. But it wasn't there. I couldn't, it got to a point where I like, you can't deny it. And so one of the things that being a machinist gave me was podcasts. I had earbuds and I could listen to podcasts and audiobooks. And because I was anxious and depressed and stressed, I was learning about that. And that let me delve into psychology more and different practices that I recognize now as spiritual practices. But at the time I was just like, oh, good, meditation helps calm my thoughts. That's great. I'll start meditating. Yoga is good for the body and it stretches you out and gets you ready for the day. That feels good. I'll do some yoga.
Did you run into people too that were kind of off like me?
No, you're your own unique off. I'm kidding.
I am really unique in when I'm outside of my realm.
Yes, people along the path that facilitate the growth. I've had fantastic massage therapists and chiropractors, and I'm trying to think. Like,
so it really, really sounds like the universe has been grooming you from years back.
Yes, from years back. Well, that leads to then, so it was 2020. We're talking about summertime, late summer 2020. And I'm in like the best shape of my life because I've been just channeling this energy and putting it towards exercise and meditation and learning more, reading books and stuff like that. And I'm doing like really building myself up for something. Didn't know what it was, but at age 34, in better shape than my army days, and more flexible and better cardio and more strength. And that's when the universe decided I was ready. We were ready. And I don't want to go too far into the talking about the relationship, but on the day it ended, there was a moment where the question was posed, are you breaking up with me? And my avatar just uttered the sound, yes. Like it was at some point this was what needed to happen, right?
Yeah.
Like,
and the energy was the right energy.
And the room is spinning and everything's just humming and vibrating, and it was very intense, very intense.
I imagine. And it was also the right energy for her too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Actually, that whole, like I said, I'm not going to go into it, but it was a beautiful, amicable, no lawyers, no nothing, just two mature adults recognizing what needed to happen. So
that's perfect.
Yeah.
And then your buddy said, let's go out hunting.
And then it started to sink in that I couldn't even be at work anymore. I was like, I can't be here. And I ended up quitting. And then the logical course of action was to sell the house because I didn't want that and I wasn't going to do it by myself. So with all of that on my plate and everything up in the air, I was like, I can't go hunting right now. And one of my best friends in the world, AJ, said, come to the woods. It's good for your soul. And so that's what we did.
He was 100% right. The woods is
he knows. He's so smart. He knows. So I can talk about what a Kundalini experience feels like now. That first day sitting in the woods, I found a spruce tree that had snapped over and functioned as a beautiful bench. And at this point I had just been like autonomously stretching all the time at work for the last months. It had been like everything that was something to brace off of was an excuse to stretch, and just constantly stretching and moving and trying to open up my fascia, open up my body so that the fiber optic communication tissue in my body can start flowing. And so what I ended up doing, I sat down on a tree and like immediately, it's like a little meditation. Like I'm going inside, just kind of sit and breathe. And immediately this like little spark of like liquid electricity from the bottom of my spine just starts wriggling up and rippling out through all of the meat in my back. It felt like blooming. Like I took an audio recording after it happened, and it's like felt like I had grown wings. Like everything just opened up and unfurled from my spine outwards, and then rippling out through my shoulders and down through my hips and up my neck and up the back of my head. And it was terrifying. And then something very clearly said, this is beautiful. and then I just kind of breathed and relaxed into it, and it was I mean, anybody walking by randomly would have been like, that guy's having a seizure. Like it was pretty intense. And yeah, and so having some version of that happened every morning that week for 6 days in a row. And it would be,
You were in the woods all this time.
this was a week-long trip, yes.
Okay, so basically Mother Earth was, it seems to me Mother Earth was facilitating you.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Actually, funny that you say that, because I would start my day, go for a walk, and look for a spot to sit down. It's nice, kind of aimless walking in the woods. It's very nice practice, meditative practice. And then there would be like a boulder the size of a futon sitting in a sunbeam, and it's all covered with dry moss, and it looks like super comfortable. So I go and sit on that, and then just kind of let my body autonomously do yoga, and I let my mind step aside, and my body could just flow, and then it would reach a point where there's like a brace, like I would need something to brace off of to help the energy flow through, like an internal massage. I was calling it a massage from the universe. And you said Mother Nature was facilitating. I wouldn't have to look. Every single time I could just, like, the movement would look something like this. Like, I'm going to do one of these, and then I need to brace, and there would be a branch right there. And I could just grab that branch. I wouldn't have to look, just grab it and brace. And that happened the first time, and I was like, oh, cool. And then that happened dozens of times. Like, there was, that was one of the first things where I was like, this world's creating itself for me, around me.
And it is. How did you know not to empty your mind?
That was intuitive as well, because I had been practicing meditation. And so that mechanism is what let my higher self flow through me in that way.
Okay, so each night when you came back to yourself, what did you notice each night that there was a difference in who you were?
Yes, it was difficult to integrate because there were a bunch of people around there, my buddies, and I wasn't telling them what was going on because it was very strange.
And it's personal.
And it's personal, and it's unpacking traumas and stuff, and so it was mine. It was mine to deal with in those moments. But I think I probably scared a couple of them, because I felt like I was losing my mind. Like, really, having Google available, and at the end of the week starting to learn about what a Kundalini awakening means, I was like, okay, I feel better about that. But also, it was equally terrifying and weird, and I was afraid to lean into it. I didn't really want it to be true at that time.
It's responsibility, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, but in truth, you were losing your mind.
Yeah, I found my soul. Yeah.
Yeah, it's losing your mind, losing your ego, in all that respect. It's pretty exciting, actually. So when you was there more to tell about that week? Because it sounds like a profound week.
Profound is a huge way to, yeah, it was profound. It was I touched on it the first day, the first time I was on your show here, just a little bit about, like, the physical representation of emotional release. That was something that was so tangible to me. I was putting it into categories, like self-confidence was behind my right shoulder, and family issues was behind my left shoulder, and the low back had, like, there was themes. Wherever there was a physical release, I would get an intuitive emotional release. And
that's usually how it actually works.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah,
trauma is stored in the body.
Yeah, because back pain usually means you feel lack of support, and the left side is feminine side, the right side is the masculine side. And if your right side foot hurts, you're afraid to walk out in your masculine, things like that. As a general rule, not necessarily always. So you did a so for 6, 7 days you had a Kundalini release, and each time you released energy, built-in energy that it got stuck in your body.
Mhm. The second day was more shoulders. The third day was more hips. The fourth day was neck. It was like just going through in stages.
Okay. And that's I actually don't have a question for that one, which is surprising because I can ask questions galore. It sounds extremely that you did it alone without support. That's phenomenal. But it also tells me you're extremely old soul. Otherwise, you would never have been able to do that on your own.
That's how I laid it out for myself, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because
No, it hasn't been easy.
yeah, and when you came back home or back to where you were, I'm assuming,
It was still home.
yeah. So how long did you stay there before you started to travel?
There was a deal to move the house, and that took a couple of months. And then there was a period of struggle. There was I was like locked down somehow. I don't know if it was fear. I wanted to help other people around me. I wanted to help my family around me because that whole year was crazy. We're talking 2021, and so there was a lot to do, and I felt bad leaving, and so that actually had me kind of sit stagnant for another like what, 3 months, 4 months beyond when I would have liked to hit the road. And so
Was it stagnant or integration?
it was both. It was both, because I was still traveling around. I was still seeing old friends and college friends and family that lived away and stuff like that. So there was still like I had nothing better to do. So so it was a beautiful way to travel around, and it was cathartic and beneficial to like everyone that I went and saw. Was they started to say things to me that were more esoteric than I expected them to say and was ready to accept. And there's a reason you came here this week, man. I really knew I was rough this week. I was going through this relationship stuff or whatever it was. And you just came with the right energy to help me process what, and it was, so like that started to happen regularly. And I started to realize that something much bigger was at play, which I already knew, but like the fact that it was influencing those around me, that was significant.
It would be an expanding awareness. It wouldn't be a one-time awareness.
No, right. Yeah. Expand. Yeah.
And
And that has to come gradually.
Yeah. And in this time, is that when you realized you wanted to be a healer?
I don't know that I've ever said that I want to be a healer. I see the themes and trends. Like I said, my grandfather was there doing it, and I mean, yes, I do want to help people. I've always wanted to help people. Most of the time it comes from conversation. So so like the idea of me putting my hands to work healing in some way is it's tangible, it's believable. I've done it.
But it's not, you don't feel that particular energetic calling.
Not as a primary mode of being, no.
So Champagne says she's very glad you're part of the soul tribe with hearts and waves. Champagne's from down in Washington State.
Okay.
So what I'm hearing is that you are a healer, but you're a healer of the soul, which everybody is, but there's different levels of soul healing, right? So you've come in, and I know this. I heard the word shaman, which seems to me you were drawn to that energy a little bit.
It's always been on my radar. It's a part of my practice as well. So like, and very much like I like being outside. I'm a very much, one with
Yeah.
nature when I am there. So I like being part of nature, and that kind of energy resonates with me. So yeah.
Okay. So how long, it was 3 more months before you took off, and did you have any more Kundalini or psychic or not psychic, but spiritual experiences before you left?
Yes, to all of that. It's been consistent. It still happens now. It's not done. It's yeah, and the moon cycles will trigger it, and meditative states will afford me downloads. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. And one thing we said before we started, and you wanted to know if you wanted to get real. This sounds beautiful. I've lived through a spiritual awakening. Most people I know are living through spiritual, or have lived through spiritual awakenings. What was the downside?
Dismantling everything that you thought you were.
And it's pretty tough, hey?
Yeah, that's not easy. No,
No.
It's really hard.
It definitely is.
Parts of you that you were pretty sure was you, and it turns out that was some idea that somebody somewhere kind of adorned you with, unbeknownst to you.
Yeah. And those the little voices in your head, that's your mom, your dad, your teacher, your minister, or your doctor, or somebody in power. And they may not necessarily have the truth of it.
No, they're living with an old story too. I mean, there's so many people who are innocent victims of bad ideas that there's no blame to place. There's no
There's
fault
no
to it.
blame.
No.
It's there, as I say, there's no mistakes. There's just simply lessons.
Mhm.
And we live lessons for tens of thousands of years. So we're undoing it in a couple of generations.
Yeah.
So it's kind of exciting. Have you heard of the Indigo Kids?
I have.
And do you think you're one of them?
You mentioned that the other day. Before you said it, it hadn't occurred to me that I would be in that category. But early Indigo kids, yeah, maybe.
No,
Young
I'm an
millennial.
early Indigo kid. You're a midstream, really.
Oh, is that right? Okay, good then. Good.
Actually, indigo started coming in the 1800s. The fact that we're going through the ascension was determined in the 1800s. And by the time the 50s came along, there were 5% of us were indigos.
Okay.
And by your generation, I think it's like 45%.
Wow.
Yeah. And now for the last 15, 20 years, I think everybody is basically.
Yeah. It's a new
So-
age being ushered in. Yeah.
Okay, and Champagne has a questions for you, and you may choose to answer it or not. She says, so I'm curious, how can you heal a soul from karmic ties, relationship, past lives related?
From my own experience,
Yes.
find uncomfortable truths and really, really look at them and say them out loud and see what it feels like to process something that you don't want to say out loud, that maybe some part of you knows is true. And it doesn't feel like you don't want it to be true. Like that, it does feel like you don't want it to be true, but whatever the rumble in your guts, in your soul, the part of you that's trying to express itself, but your day-to-day self is unwilling to make the changes to accommodate that truth. When you feel like you're ready, saying something out loud is incredibly powerful.
Yes. For some reason or other, saying it out loud, it's huge.
Huge.
Yeah.
Write it down first, whatever you got to do.
But acknowledging that it belongs to you, not to them. That is what you're basically saying, right? And that is an amazingly powerful tool you just handed out there.
Careful.
And do you have a specific that you're comfortable talking about, a specific shift in consciousness that you made? Because, like I said, most people who are on the spiritual path have been there, done that, got the t-shirt, so to speak. But it's nice to know they're not alone.
Sorry, what was that last part?
It's nice, just
Oh, it's nice to know they're not alone. Yeah.
yeah, because a lot of us, when we start the spiritual path, we feel we're the only ones doing it. And honestly, we're at this moment in time, we're not.
Yeah. No, there's a whole bunch.
Champagne has a question.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can't see the text.
I've got it, Maddie. Jennifer says, hello, everybody. Hope everybody is doing well. This is a very interesting conversation, and I know it is. That's why he's here. He has the same name as my father. It's a strong name. And Champagne says, interesting. Okay, thanks. The answer to it is acceptance, in short. Yes, accepting who you are and allowing your ego to take a walk. But
yeah, the discomfort is the ego letting go. That's what ego death feels like. And you want little doses of it. It's okay. You don't need a whole bunch at once.
yeah, and that's powerful information as well, because as I said, I've talked to many people over the years, and many people want to do it all at once, and that is not the way to do it. So, and you did a lot of it at once. But you did it without somebody there to support you, to say, hey, slow down, you've got time. So you had to go through a lot of the many deaths rapidly.
Yes.
And that how did that leave you psychologically?
I was a puddle.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Yeah, it was a good thing I didn't have to go to work, because I would have been useless. Like there was it got to the point where I was afraid to go to sleep. Like I didn't want to
You didn't want to face it?
I didn't want to face it every single night.
And
I'd watch the moons and be like, oh man, here comes another full moon. Like it's gonna get real.
so you became, like you made that joke the other day, I don't know, werewolf.
Yeah, yes. Yeah. And a werewolf. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Did you know, or have you learned since that with you ask the universe to slow it down, it will?
Yes. Now, once I understood that it was actually a sentient energy working through my body, that took a minute to marinate in, to actually realize what that means, and then to begin to communicate with it and say, not right now, I'm driving. It's a powerful tool.
It is an aware. It is an awareness. It is universe. It is the whatever we want to call it. It is definitely an aware energy.
I've called it my entire self. When you've got the entire expansion of your capacity as a human being, all of your subtle body being used by your conscious mind, that's your entire self at play. And the co-creative capacity in this world is powerful. Like that law of attraction is valid. You start playing with those energies and watch your mindset and watch your thoughts. As you think, as you speak, you create. That is very powerful, very powerful.
So there's one thing that I have seen with you that isn't always true for everybody. It's like you go in and say, oh, this is happening to me, I accept. And not everybody accepts. And this I know because, like I say, I've different levels. People are in different levels, and that's perfectly all right. Everybody is equal. But you accept it, and you accept it quickly, because you turned into a puddle, and it didn't take you very long to get out of that puddle, because and 2021 is not that long ago.
No, it's pretty recent.
Pretty recent.
Still fairly green. Yeah. No. one of the things that let me trust was that every single time there would be a truth on the horizon, a revelation, an understanding about myself or my reality or whatever, it would be my ego saying, no, I don't want that to be true. No, that can't be true. And then a day later, 3 days later, 6 months later, there's going to be a point where you say, oh yeah, okay, that's true. And also, here's a beautiful thing that I didn't even see. That's a result of that truth. That, like, now that I've understood that that's true, and I can move past it, and I can see where that truth has just afforded me a beautiful opportunity that I couldn't see before. I was able to accept that truth. That when that started to happen regularly, I was like, okay, what's the next truth? Next, what's next?
Uh-huh. So one of the things that that you were afraid of, was it being powerful? Because it's all
Fear of my own
people,
potential.
yeah,
Yeah. Yes.
because yeah, because I find that is actually the biggest thing that people have. It's not that, oh, it's ugly, it's that it's beautiful.
Yeah.
And we are so trained to not look for the beauty in life. And
That's true.
so for you to be able to go forward into the beauty of it, and because regardless of what people want to believe, spirituality ultimately is joy and beauty. And I can see it in your eyes. Okay, Champagne has another question. What's the difference between ego death and the shadow self? On the spot, man.
That's pretty good. Okay, what comes to me? Your shadow self reveals itself so that you can clean out that part of your ego. That shadow self is an expression of the part of your ego that needs to die.
Yep.
Yeah,
They're
good.
basically the same thing, just
They are,
different
yeah.
things.
They go hand in hand. That's the language that your ego needs to communicate to you.
And sometimes the shadow self will give you a small part of it and a small part of it until you get the full whole. It's not everybody's like you, Thomas, who jump in with both feet and say, yeah, I got this.
A little bit masochistic, maybe.
Oh yeah, or just you like to live on the high side of excitement.
That's my military background. Pain is weakness leaving the body. Okay, all right, let's do this.
That would do it. I'm sorry, that made me laugh. I like that. So we got you leaving home, and that must have been a big jump, because you're leaving security, you're leaving family, you're leaving people who are supportive and love you, or people who maybe don't necessarily love you, but you know them, and the known is easier than the unknown.
I've experienced pretty like exclusively love. Like I would struggle to find the interactions that I've had that weren't loving.
Yeah.
It's been love.
Yeah.
On the journey, I knew that there were stops. Like I knew that I'd be coming to this part of British Columbia eventually when I made it this far, right? And there was a friend of mine in Northern Ontario that I knew was going to stop and see. And there was actually a part for my truck, a cap for the back of my truck outside of Thunder Bay. And so I knew that 19-hour drive was like the kickstart for the road trip. And so the way that everything lined up synchronistically became undeniable. And so every stop on the way afforded me exactly what I needed. And I mean, yeah, I'll probably write a book one day. Like it's this fascinating example, to me experientially, it's undeniable. Now that's the reason someone would write a book and try and tell somebody like, no, it's real. Like I didn't believe it either, but here it is, it's real. But like little things like okay, I got to Thunder Bay and I got this cap for the back of my truck, and it needed a window on the back. And I was like, okay, well, that means I'm going to be here for a couple of days to talk to the glass guys because it's the weekend. And so figure out, okay, so the guy that I bought the thing from told me about this local beach, and he was like, you can go down there and camp. It's nice. It's August. So I go camp on the beach. I'm like, yup, that's great. So I got access to a public beach, but only the locals know about it. So it was mine. There was nobody there. And while I was there, I booked a massage, and I go into town and get the massage, and the RMT tells me about this place where you can split firewood and you get a cabin in the woods. And I was like, go on. So then I find out it's going to take 3 weeks to a month to get this part for my truck. And I'm like debating if I can go on with this road trip or not. And I'm like, no, I can't. All my stuff's going to get dusty. I need this window. Here it is. Let's do it. And the place I get to stay at for the next month is an off-grid Buddhist hermitage in the woods. And it was exactly what I needed to get out there, not have a cell phone. Like literally it was a 15-minute drive to get a cell phone signal. There's waterfalls everywhere and trails through the woods and wolves and beavers. And it was just perfect. Living out there, learning meditation and meeting beautiful people as they cycle through.
Was it one of the places where there was no talking?
No, there was talking. There was examples of silent retreats. A few people did silent retreats while they were there. So I got to see that. Like that was one of the things that blew my mind. I would see these people coming in, flying in from Toronto because they want to do nothing but sit and meditate for 8 hours a day, 10 hours a day. And I was like, that's how important this is to you. You want to actually just like, you want to avoid the library that's on the property because there's too much distraction. It's going to take you away from your meditative practice. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And that to me was huge. That really let me appreciate the importance of meditation.
It is. There's a meditation, a Buddhist retreat. I'm not sure if it's still there, in Merritt, where you go for 8 days and no talking.
9 days.
And then there's a weekend one in Kamloops as well that you go there and you exchange work for the weekend. And
Are these Goenka retreats? I've heard of the Goenka ones, and
I actually don't know what they're called. My daughter did it. My eldest daughter. She lives in Kamloops. So I often wanted to go, but I never made it.
transformative. I've spoken to a few people who have done them, done multiples, and some people have done 30-day retreats. Like that changes who you are in some fundamental way. It's very transformative.
It would, yes.
I will say, while we're talking about it, the monastery I was at, the hermitage, is called Arrow River, and it's gorgeous. If you wanted to book a little cabin in the woods with a wood stove and a library and nothing better to do than look for beavers and take a bath in a waterfall, check out Arrow River.
Yeah, it sounds very, very spiritual and very, very divine, actually.
Divine.
Yeah. So you were there for a month, then you moved on?
I was there for a month and I made friends with a monk who was there. And he asked me very nicely if I would mind if he joined me driving to Saskatoon. And so the next chapter was a 5-day road trip, overland camping out of my Tacoma with an enrobed Buddhist monk. That was a fun adventure.
That would be. Yeah, you do have a book, and you don't maybe write it. This is a book.
This is it. Here it is.
That's all the 5 days is a book.
Telling my story. Yeah. No. Ajahn Subaro, he's a fascinating man.
So you all along the way, you've met the right people at the right time.
Unfailingly.
Yeah. And how did you survive the prairies?
I just drove through them.
Yeah, because I drove through the prairies once and it was flat.
Yeah. You can watch your dog run away for 3 days out there.
Yeah. And it's beautiful, but it's flat.
Oh, I got some really cool pictures. There's some huge panoramas. That's a big sky they got out there. Yeah.
It really is. But, I grew up in BC, actually. So flat was a little bit tough on me.
Fair enough.
So how long did it take you to get to the prairies?
We weren't sure. We ballparked, the better part of a week. And yeah, we took 5 days to
and
get to Saskatoon.
Saskatoon, Saskatchewan.
That's right.
There's a joke about Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. There's
I'm
two
sure.
Americans were up there in a restaurant, and one of them says to the waitress, "What's the name of this place?" And she says, "Saskatoon, Saskatchewan." And he turned to his partner and says, "They don't even speak English here." Anyhow, bad joke. So how
I
long?
thought they were going to say, "Bless you." No, go on.
How long were you in Saskatoon?
I ended up making really good friends with the monk's mother. And so she offered me a place to stay, and we ended up learning a lot from each other and bouncing ideas around. We talked about Ernest Holmes and lots of different fun esoteric knowledge.
Of course, she'd be spiritual because her son it happens, runs in families.
Yes.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was cool. I got to meet her friend group. I got invited to their book club. We went golfing together. It was beautiful.
Yeah, sounds like fun.
Hmm.
And then you went to Jasper.
And then, nope. Then the monk had a stop in Calgary, and so it kind of synced up. Like I was kind of figuring, I wasn't sure how long I would stay in Saskatoon, and then it made sense to just continue the road trip. So we drove to Calgary, and he ended up staying at a monastery there. And from there, I played around in the foothills for a bit, and then I had a friend in Edmonton. We traveled to Australia together. So
Okay.
so I hadn't seen him in a while, and it was really cool to go and catch up and just see the city. I'm not much of a city boy, but he definitely was able to show me around and see some of the sights and meet some cool people. And so spent some time in Edmonton.
One
And
thing about Edmonton is it might be a big city, but it's a small town.
yeah, he told me before I got there that Saskatoon is like a mini Edmonton. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I went to university there years
Okay.
ago.
Okay.
Yeah. And then you went towards the Rockies.
Yep. And then the mountains called, and so
Yeah, they
so
do call, don't they?
yeah, of course they do. So started in Canmore and hopped around and found places like I mentioned my Tacoma. I've got a first gen Tacoma with a cap, and it's just enough until it gets deathly cold. It's been enough to travel around and live out of. I haven't had to sleep out of it very much, which is luxurious, but
Well,
I
I
love.
think the universe loves you.
Yeah, I'm doing okay. I've
Okay.
been well cared for. I wouldn't mind a Sprinter van, but we'll get there. We'll see what happens.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's pretty cool. So
Mhm.
we've been on an hour.
Okay. Well, we can cut this off.
But you have no, that's not what I'm saying. I just allow people to know that we've been on an hour so that,
Okay.
do you have other things you would love to portray, to tell others? Because I mean, you've got to tell us about Salmon Arm. Some of our watchers are from Salmon Arm.
When I showed up in Canoe and saw the canoe full of all the donated goods and then the fireworks that evening, and just the size of the community and how everybody knows and loves each
Is
other,
everybody?
it's perfect. It reminded me of my hometown growing up, like my neighborhood, especially just living in a subdivision and everybody knowing everybody, and you don't need to worry about where your kids are because they're with somebody else's kids and they're
And
probably over
everybody
there.
watches out for them.
Exactly. It's
Mhm.
there's a certain quaintness to it where you actually, it's really, really endearing, and you could argue it's the right way to live. Like there's a reason I'm repulsed by cities. I don't want faceless people. There's deep psychology in the idea that you would live in a building with 1,000 other people that you don't know and you don't acknowledge when you walk by them. Your brain doesn't know what to do with that. That means you're not where you're not at home. Like if you don't know everybody you're around, you're in danger primally,
Actually, we're supposed to be in small groups of
Yeah.
people.
That's Dunbar's number, right? Like 150 people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And psychologically, you actually will know 150 people generally at one time.
Yeah.
So, and it takes the community to raise a family. Well, it takes kids. It takes a community to survive.
That's true.
Yeah. And the more there is community like Canoe, the better the mental health people have.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
So what else, what have you done so far besides run into wisdom seekers?
I've been having fun taking pictures and exploring. I like just finding spots in the woods. That's really what calls to me is finding natural beauty. And
Okay,
it's everywhere. It's everywhere.
it is, yeah.
and people, seeking out conversations. The random introductions and every single one of them is perfectly synchronistic. It's no accident that we're speaking here today. Like this
No,
is
not at all.
no, not at all.
So Carol Peachy says, "Oh my gosh, that is so true about knowing people and needing people." And that's one of the things that people forget in this society. I have found that they forget that we need to support each other. And the more we support each other, the more people are not obligated, because it's not obligation. It's a choice. More we choose to interact and work with and be with other people, the healthier we are mentally.
Well, there's like a subconscious encouragement to it. It feels good. You're drawn towards it on some level.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm going to put you on the spot.
Hit me.
What have you learned since you came to Canoe?
What have I learned since I came to Canoe?
Because, yeah, I expect you learned something, because that's the nature of your journey. That's who you are.
Always.
Mhm. And
There's,
a corollary to that is, who have you helped? Because if you learn something, you help somebody.
That's difficult for me to talk about because I don't want to. I
Okay.
don't want to.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's a little
grandiose
boasty.
about it, right? It's
Oh, that's ego.
yeah. Well, and
If
that's not
it's-
so.
If
Because
it's
what I
true,
would
if it's
Go on.
true, it's not ego. If it's I'm really special, then it's ego.
okay. The
But
radio's not proud to play the Beatles. I get it. I know.
and it's very at the same time, it's very easy to fall off the razor's edge. It's a very oxymoron kind of relationship. I watched a guy on TikTok, an older gentleman from China, I think, and he said, and I've used it ever since. He said, somebody praises you, you take it in, you say thank you, then you just let it go into the earth. And that just made so much sense to me.
Oh, that feels good. Yeah.
Yeah. So take all the praise, let it go.
A lot of the conversations that I've been having through the entirety of this journey have been centered around interpersonal relationships and people who are waking up inside themselves and doing something similar to what I did, like looking around and saying, well, how did I get here? And what am I actually trying to do?
So you've been a concentric wave all across Canada.
Yes.
Cool. Yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt. Say what you were saying.
No, it is cool. It's cool. And I keep myself grounded by saying, who am I? It's okay. It's okay. I don't feel proud by it. I'm bewildered by it. It's humbling and awe-inspiring and beautiful.
It really is. But if you stop and realize that you are just a spark of God,
yeah,
and God is that, he is awe-inspiring. Why would you not be awe-inspiring?
Then you might as well spread the awe. Drink
exactly. It in. Because we should all be that way.
Be awesome.
Exactly. Exactly. We should stop on that. We're perfect ending. And Carol, sorry, I said Cora before, but Carol Peachy said, yes, praise can feel awkward. Do what I said. Take it, say thank you, just put it into the earth, because the earth can handle anything.
It's just to go on top of that. I'm 30 something and my mom's been on this path all my life. So we are trained. The general populace is trained not to accept praise.
Mm-hmm.
We are trained not to accept the compliments of, oh my God, that was such a good conversation. It's, oh no, it's really nothing. Because if we accept it as, yeah, it was fucking fantastic.
Language here, language.
Yeah, I'm not you. If we do that, we are seen as conceited and as prideful. And how dare you be prideful of yourself and of what you can accomplish, what
Yet,
you've lived through.
yet I cannot get her in front of in front of the video.
I mean, you can. It's just not gonna happen.
Anyhow, this is Tom's moment.
I just wanted to
No,
add.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love that, and I know that too, and so I still catch myself dancing that line, and then I remember that like how good does it feel when you get to help somebody, when
It-
somebody actually asks you for help, because asking for help is friggin' hard.
Oh yeah.
But meanwhile, your own ego getting in the way of you asking for help is taking away the joy that someone else would get by being able to help you. It's
By giving to you.
at giving, exactly. And so when you actually
and
do get to offer
receiving.
something
Receiving.
and receiving with gratitude, that's a fun practice to play with, because it is fun to give. It's more fun to give than receive, in my
So
opinion.
much easier.
And so when I get an opportunity to give something, I got to do it recently, and it was substantial and it was fun, and I got to say to my friends, please let me give you this, and you get to now practice gratitude. It's fun. I want to, I'm able, let's do this, right? Like it's a beautiful expression of community. That's the point. And when you give, you receive. Now we're talking about the law of attraction. You want to talk about rules of the universe? If you play the game of desire, if you wake up in the morning and say, I wish I had a bigger boat, I wish I had a bigger house, I wish I had a new truck, I wish. Yeah, you get to desire all day. The universe says, cool, you're playing the desire game. You get to desire all this stuff. That's fine.
Yeah,
But
because it's in the future.
gratitude, yeah, that's all. Yeah, exactly. You're in the future. You're living in the future.
Mhm.
But appreciating what you've got in the present and playing the gratitude game, that means that you get more.
Yeah.
You get more, and you don't even have to try for it. It's just energy.
Yeah. It's amazing too that and the ego says you don't deserve, so we don't get. And the problem with ego is a lot of it's connected to the subconscious, so we don't even know we don't know how to deal with it.
That's where meditation comes in, because you get to actually observe your thoughts.
Even there, sometimes it's difficult to
Yeah.
understand what you're seeing.
Mhm.
So as I say this many times, there's many forms, there's many ways of learning to release and let go of your hooks. And I call, with it hurts is yours, I call it a hook. So it's not just meditation, therapy. I do something called, I call it leverage, because my energy gets down, my energy. It's not mine, it's the universe. Gets down below and it shoves it up, and you release it, and it works really well. But there's many people out there who can do the same thing. There's like Destiny, she can do Reiki, which will pull up things. You do this too. You do it by words at this moment. I think it will shift and change a bit.
I have control over my subtle body. I can feel it. I can manipulate it and work with blockages.
Yeah. And so, and words are mantra, words of power.
Mhm.
Okay, Carol, you're both helping by posting this. Thank you. You're very welcome.
Thank you. You are welcome.
Yeah. And that gives us joy. I'm speaking for Thomas, but it
I
gives
feel
me
it.
joy.
My heart's so full right now.
Yeah. It's amazing. And what we're doing right now, what you did, and thank you so much for sharing your journey, because like I said, so many people feel they're alone and they're not. This is what 2020 is going to be all about. What we're doing right now is like a seed of 2020.
2022. Oh, well,
Yeah.
2020 planted the seed. We can say that, sure.
Okay, yeah, no, I'm dyslexic. I go with that.
That's good.
But this year, 2022.
This coming year is going to be phenomenal. Yes.
I believe so. I feel so. And we are ready.
Oh yeah.
And the people who think they're not, look at Thomas, a year and a half. He's amazing. We're ready. Look at me, 70 years old. I've been on this path for over 50 plus years. I can't, I'd have to go back and do the math. I'm also ready.
The
So
thing, and the degree to which you're ready is not based on your logical interpretation of the world right now. When you are seeking to learn, if you're seeking to be better, if you're watching this right now, you are. And so that much understanding, that much initiative, that much forward momentum gives you that insight to say, okay, here's, now I'm going to talk about myself. Like, here's this guy who just says, oh, trust and go. Like, you just listen to your gut, trust your intuition, and move forward. And the world will literally line up for you. And it's like, now that's sounds like a dangerously prescriptive thing to say, but I mean,
you lived it.
I lived it. I'm living it.
Mhm.
And so I mean, whatever it is your heart's calling you to do, pay attention, take the steps to move towards that. Baby steps, see what happens, feel it out.
And this is a truth. Please listen to that, everybody. The slower you go, the more you have building blocks, the faster you arrive.
Yes.
And
Consistency is key. Consistency
yeah,
is key.
and don't put all your eggs in one basket. Don't just learn one modality. Learn everything.
Mhm.
Build your blocks. Learn from your. And remember that this is extremely important. There is no such thing as mistake. It's only an experience, a learning experience.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Your ability to frame it is the most important reaction. Like that's in fact the only thing you have control over is how you respond to the world around you.
Mhm. Yeah, that's something that that I have a very difficult time explaining to people, is that they're the only people in their life that they have responsibility or they can work on is themselves.
Mhm.
We can support other people in their journey, but you're and you know this because you've done this, you're the one that made the choices.
That's right. Yeah. And there's a gradation. There's always a high vibration and low vibration choices, and you can't always see all the options in front of you, and it doesn't really matter anyway. But however you move forward, it bounces back at you. If you're like, I want to eat a bunch of crappy food before I go to bed. Okay, well, I mean, you can do that. That's fine. You're gonna feel it.
Yeah, that you do feel it. That's for sure. I mean, on New Year's Eve, we had a little bit of alcohol, and I drink once a year at New Year's, and usually it's a glass. Anyhow, I'm not going to tell the story, but my body is still going, what did you do?
Yeah. So I don't know if one of the interesting things that I experienced was intuitive dieting. Now my body, and that's a symptom of Kundalini. That's a pretty common and intense symptom of Kundalini is dietary shift. And you're going to lose a whole bunch of weight, or you might gain some weight. It depends where you are. Everybody's doing their own thing. But there's stories of vegetarians going like full carnivore and like their body all of a sudden craves meat. And there's stories like mine where I was a hunter and ate meat regularly, and all of a sudden it's there in front of me, and my body just says, no, we don't want it. We're not going to do it. And by the time I was, driving around the country, I'm eating raw fruits. It's easier to eat out of your truck when you're not cooking stuff. I'm just eating raw fruits and veggies and Bulk Barn trail mix, and I'm the healthiest I've ever been. My body's functioning perfectly, drinking nice clean water and eating raw food and nuts. And it's just that being able to see something that was beyond me facilitate this expression. Like, it was like, just go and shop intuitively and see what you come home with. And I was eating a lot of mangoes. It's like,
so that's you don't say no.
That's right.
That's a huge secret. You don't say no. And Carol says, I agree with everything you're saying. It's very refreshing. Yeah. That's because we're talking from the heart.
That's right.
Mhm. So
Hmm.
I kind of run out of questions. Do you have more to say? Because I mean, obviously you have more to say.
Yeah, but it comes up conversationally, and we're supposed to bounce around here.
Yeah, that's the best way to do it. And
It is.
I find that most people enjoy it more than the other way. But I'm just trying to think of it something. So one thing I want to ask you this question though, what about self-forgiveness?
Yeah, that I that one to me, it came in waves. It was like I was able to do that fairly easily because it was intuitive at the beginning, and then I was forced to do it again. And it was more like my ego allowing it to happen. And so to be able to feel it both ways now, and admittedly, I'm still working. Like I'm obviously we're all still working through some stuff, but like there's still some energetic blockage within my vessel that I'm still processing, and forgiving yourself is not easy. If you can forgive yourself, you can forgive anyone for anything.
And then
Because
it's like a bow and arrow, right? When you forgive yourself, it's like you get shot out of the bow and arrow spiritually.
yeah, okay, yeah, right. And so I'm I'm feeling that. I recognize the importance of it, and I know what it feels like. And you kind of work at it, but then all of a sudden there's like a shift too, just a perspective shift, and you're like, man, if it could have gone any other way, it would have. This is where we are. This is what we're doing. Let go or be dragged and move forward.
When I was younger and I was on the spiritual path, we had a saying, drag kicking and screaming by our toenails.
Oh God.
Because sometimes we just didn't want to do it, you know.
Yeah, I know.
But
Yeah, I know.
and there's a corollary to that forgiveness is self-love.
Treat yourself. Self-love. Go easy on yourself. Be gentle. You are exactly where you're supposed to be, doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing. Everything's a lesson.
Mhm.
Always.
It's-
Always.
Yeah. And I have nothing to add to that because loving yourself is probably one of the hardest things you're ever going to do.
It's best to do it first thing in the morning before you get out of bed. Just 5 minutes.
Okay, I'm not going there.
Don't then.
But yeah, allowing yourself to.
Oh, that's what you thought I meant.
I'm sorry, I have a very, very bad mind. And I'm also have a very, very bad sense of humor. But that's where I forgive myself, right?
Oh, good. Good practice. That's beautiful. I don't have to. I'm not accepting anything for that.
No, I know you didn't even catch it. But self-love, I don't know that you want to do it first thing in the morning. I think you just want to do it, period.
Yes, regularly. If it's a muscle you flex, you
Yeah.
start to do it. That's like any other like meditation, and yeah, all those muscles that you flex, the more often you do it, the better you get at it. The easier it is to do. And you just start doing it subconsciously, intuitively.
Carol says absolutely, and there's a big laughing face with tears. Yeah. So yeah, that is the ultimate, is loving yourself regardless. There's enough people out there who are going to have who are not have who have not grown spiritually enough to know what or who you are, and but they have intuitive knowledge even if they're not aware of it, who will try to drag you down. And
Mhm.
if you love yourself enough to go, they're not important to my psyche, then it really helps a lot.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
Because I'm sure you've run across people who go, hey man, you're crazy.
um, yeah, I'm sure there are some people who got to watch me fall apart and they're like, oh no, we're Tom. Like,
Mhm.
oh no, right? And yeah, and also like, what are you doing? What do you mean? What do you mean you're just driving aimlessly? It's like, I'm called to adventure, man.
You lost it, right?
Yeah, I lost it.
But you
Into the
gained it.
woods I go to lose my mind and find myself.
Yeah, that's beautiful. But I do believe we're I do believe the energy is winding down because I'm kind of winding down. And I just wanted to say something. Just a few minutes ago, I went like this. So I lived in Mexico in a city called Monterrey. And the women, only the women, not the men, when they agree with something, they go, yes. And this was like 25 years ago. And I still go like this to say yes.
That's pretty
I
good. I
just,
picked up cheers and how you going from Australia.
oh, I imagine, right, too. And we talked about this the other day, I believe, on one of our lives when we said Canadians go, yeah, no, and no, yeah.
Yeah,
Is
no,
more
for sure.
Canadian than A.
Yeah.
But so I'm going to give you the last word. What's your last word?
I'm content. I love this conversation. I'm really happy to have been invited here and to share this. Um,
We'll
uh,
bring you on again.
okay, that's okay with me.
I love having these coffee chats
Hmm.
because they're so much fun.
I'm probably
Okay.
going to repeat myself. I tend to do that. We'll see how it goes. That should be fine.
You know what? There's only so many truths.
Yeah,
Party mind at your own risk.
yeah.
And and the truth is spirituality is extremely simple. And and people who make it hard, it's not real. Because spirituality is very simple.
Yeah, if you find yourself swimming upstream, you forgot. You just need to float.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm gonna go now. Namaste. Namaste.
Namaste.
Thank you, everybody,
Be
for
awesome.
being here. Yes, please. Thank you, everybody in the future and the past for watching us. Like and share. YouTube likes that, and I like it. And Thomas and I are very happy to be here with you.
Very much.
Okay, talk to you later.
Bye bye.